Welcome to Coder Beans. In this part, we'll dive into the exciting world of functions in JavaScript. Functions are like superpowers for your code. They allow you to encapsulate reusable pieces of logic, making your code more organized, efficient, and easier to maintain. We'll explore what functions are, how to declare them, and how to use them effectively. Imagine a function as a mini program within your program. It's a self-contained block of code that performs a specific task or calculation. Functions are designed to be reusable, so you can call them whenever you need that specific task done without writing the same code over and over. To declare a function, you use the function keyword, followed by a name for your function. Here's a simple function that adds two numbers. Please see the code in the background. Function is the keyword that tells JavaScript you're creating a function. Add numbers is the name of your function. A, B are parameters or inputs that the function accepts. Curly braces, plus, is the code block where the function's logic is written. Return is a keyword used to send a result back to whoever called the function. Once you've defined a function, you can use it by calling it with specific values, arguments, for the parameters. Here's how you use the add numbers function. Please see the code in the background. Add numbers, 5, 3. Calling the function with 5 and 3 as arguments for A and B. Sum, the variable that stores the result returned by the function. Console.log, sum, printing the result to the console. 1. Reusability. Functions allow you to reuse the same code for different inputs, making your code more efficient. 2. Modularity. Functions help break your code into smaller, manageable pieces, making it easier to understand and maintain. 3. Abstraction. Functions abstract away the details of how something works. You don't need to know the inner workings of a function to use it. 4. Readability. Functions with descriptive names make your code more readable and self-documenting. There are two main types of functions in JavaScript. 1. Name functions, like the add numbers example above, they have a name and can be called by that name. 2. Anonymous functions, function expressions. These functions don't have a name and are often used in situations where you only need to use them once, such as event handlers or callbacks. Here's an example of an anonymous function. Please see the code in the background. In this example, there is no name between the function keyword and parentheses. Sum. The function is assigned to the multiply variable and can be called like a named function. Variables declared within a function are typically scoped to that function, which means they are only accessible from within that function. This is known as local scope. Please see the code in the background. In this example, local var is only accessible within the myFunction function. Let's go more deep in scope and closures. Scope refers to the context in which variables and functions are declared and accessed in JavaScript. It defines the visibility and lifetime of variables and functions. Understanding scope is crucial for writing well-structured and bug-free code. JavaScript has two main types of scope. 1. Global scope. Variables and functions declared in the global scope are accessible from anywhere in your code, including within functions and blocks. These global entities have a lifetime that extends throughout the entire duration of your program. 1. Local function scope. Variables and functions declared within a function have local scope, meaning they are only accessible within that function. They have a limited lifetime as they exist as long as the function is executing. In JavaScript, you can have nested scopes where one scope is contained within another. Inner scopes have access to variables in their containing outer scopes, but not vice versa. Here, outer function has access to outer var, but inner function has access to both outer var and inner var. However, outer function cannot access inner var. A closure is a fundamental concept in JavaScript that arises from the combination of functions and scope. It occurs when a function is defined within another function and remembers the variables and parameters of its outer enclosing function, even after the outer function has finished executing. Closures allow you to maintain and encapsulate state within a function, making them powerful for tasks like data privacy and creating factory functions. Here's an example of a closure. In this example, inner function is defined inside outer function. When outer function is called with an argument of 10, it returns inner function. Later, when closure 5 is called, it still has access to outer var, which is 10, even though outer function has already finished executing. This behavior is a closure in action. Closures are useful for maintaining private data, creating functions with persistent state, and implementing various design patterns in JavaScript. In summary, scope defines where variables and functions are accessible, while closures allow inner functions to remember the variables and parameters of their outer functions. Understanding scope and closures is essential for writing robust and maintainable JavaScript code. Now, let's test your knowledge of functions, scope, and closures in JavaScript. Here's a quiz of 10 multiple-choice questions. Question 1. What is the primary purpose of functions in JavaScript? A. To define global variables. B. To create loops. C. To encapsulate reusable blocks of code. D. To manipulate HTML elements. Answer: C. To encapsulate reusable blocks of code. Explanation: the primary purpose of functions in JavaScript is to encapsulate reusable blocks of code and provide a mechanism for organizing, modularizing, and enhancing the maintainability of your code. Question 2. Which keyword is used to declare a function in JavaScript? A. Define. B. Function. C. Create. D. Def. Answer: B. Function. Explanation: to declare a function, you typically use the function keyword followed by the function's name and a pair of parentheses. Question 3. What are parameters in a JavaScript function? A. Variables used within the function body. B. Arguments passed to the function when it is called. C. Variables declared outside of the function. D. Reserved keywords for defining functions. Answer: B. Arguments passed to the function when it is called. Explanation: parameters in a JavaScript function are placeholders for values that the function expects to receive when it is called. They are variables declared within the parentheses of the function declaration, and they serve as input values or arguments that the function can use to perform its tasks. Question 4. What is the purpose of the return statement in a JavaScript function? A. To exit the function immediately. B. To declare a new variable. C. To send a value back to the caller of the function. D. To define function parameters. Answer: C. To send a value back to the caller of the function. Explanation: the return statement in a JavaScript function serves the purpose of sending a value or result back to the caller of the function. It is used to specify the output or the result that the function produces, which can then be captured and used in the calling code. Question 5. In JavaScript, where can global variables be accessed? A. Only within the function they are declared in. B. Only within the block they are declared in. C. Anywhere in the code, including within functions and blocks. D. Only within the loop they are declared in. Answer: C. Anywhere in the code, including within functions and blocks. Explanation: global variables in JavaScript are variables that are declared outside of any function or block. These variables have a global scope, which means they can be accessed from anywhere in your JavaScript code, including within functions, blocks, loops, and other parts of your program. Question 6. What does the term scope refer to in JavaScript? A. The order of function execution. B. The indentation level of code. C. The context in which variables and functions are declared and accessed. D. The process of declaring global variables. Answer: C. The context in which variables and functions are declared and accessed. Explanation: the term scope in JavaScript refers to the context or environment in which variables and functions are declared and accessed. It defines the visibility and accessibility of these variables and functions within your code. Question 7. What is the primary difference between global scope and local function scope in JavaScript? A. Global scope variables are accessible only within functions. B. Local scope variables have a shorter lifetime than global scope variables. C. Global scope variables have a shorter lifetime than local scope variables. D. Local scope variables are declared with the global keyword. Answer: B. Local scope variables have a shorter lifetime than global scope variables. The primary difference between global scope and local function scope in JavaScript is the lifetime of variables declared within each scope. Question 8. What is a closure in JavaScript? A. A method for defining anonymous functions. B. A way to prevent access to global variables. C. A combination of functions and scope that allows inner functions to remember variables of outer functions. D. A reserved keyword for defining private variables. Answer: C. A combination of functions and scope that allows inner functions to remember variables of outer functions. Explanation: a closure in JavaScript is a fundamental concept that arises from the combination of functions and scope. It refers to the behavior where an inner function retains access to the variables and parameters of its outer enclosing function, even after the outer function has finished executing. Question 9. What is the primary advantage of closures in JavaScript? A. They improve code performance. B. They provide a way to declare global variables. C. They allow inner functions to maintain access to variables from outer functions. D. They eliminate the need for loops. Answer C. They allow inner functions to maintain access to variables from outer functions. Explanation. The primary advantage of closures in JavaScript is that they allow inner functions to maintain access to variables from outer functions. Question 10. Which type of scope is created when a function is defined within another function in JavaScript? A. Global scope. B. Local scope. C. Function scope. D. Block scope. Answer B. Local scope. Explanation. When a function is defined within another function in JavaScript, it creates a local scope for the inner function. This local scope is sometimes referred to as function scope. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our comprehensive JavaScript series. Whether you're sipping on coffee or munching on some code-friendly snacks, join us on this coding journey.